I think English folklore is among the most unique. This tends to be the case for island nations. Many English legends were born from ancient pagan beliefs. Others have emerged since and reflect their own period of history. They were enshrined in fiction during the 19th century, but the original tales tend to be a lot more dark. The first written account of this legend comes from 1595. It tells that the wealthy parents of two young children suddenly pass away. The children fall under the care of their uncle until they are old enough for their inheritance. But their uncle wanted their money, so he hired some bandits to kill them. He told the children they were being taken to London to live there. The plan was for the bandits to kill the children deep in the woods, but they didn't have the heart to do so. They simply abandoned the children in the woods. Finding themselves lost and alone, the children soon died of starvation. Their ghosts are said to haunt Wayland Wood, looking for revenge against their uncle, who did receive their inheritance. For many centuries, parents would leave pairs of open scissors beside their children's bed. This was thought to ward off evil fairies, who were known to kidnap children. In the place of the abducted child, they would leave a changeling. That's a young fairy child which has been transformed by magic to look human. So the parents would have no idea their child had been replaced overnight, and would unknowingly raise the changeling as their own. Over time, it will look less and less human, until the parents realize what's happened. Meanwhile, their child had been taken to the fairy kingdom, where they would be forced into slavery forever. The Hairy Hands of Dartmoor emerged as a popular legend in the early 20th century. It's a ghost tale set in the National Park of Dartmoor. In the early days of motor travel, there were many mysterious accidents in Dartmoor roads. In 1921, an army captain was driving through the area when a floating pair of hairy hands appeared out of nowhere. They grabbed onto his steering wheel and forced him to drive off the road. 3 years later, a married couple were staying in the area. They reported that a pair of ghostly hands had been scratching at their vehicle windows. The hands are said to belong to a man who once died there in a car crash. His deranged ghost now attacks anyone it can. I remember being told this legend as a child whenever on that road. I never saw the hands though. Legend tells that a creature called Black Anis lives in the city of Leicester. It's never been clear what she actually is. Perhaps a witch. She lives in a cave, which is identified by the oak tree at the entrance. Her skin is blue, and so she only leaves her cave at night. Just looking directly at her can drive a person insane. Her purpose when outside is to find children, who she will kidnap and consume. With her long arms, she would reach into houses and drag children outside. Back at her cave, she would cook and eat them, and wear their skin as clothing. Sometimes in swamps and marshlands, mysterious lights appear in the air. Science is still unable to explain the lights, which look like balls of fire floating in the air. In folklore, they are known as will-o'-the-wisp. They would appear before lonely travelers and lure them into following. They would lure the traveler away from the road and deep into the woods. Their light would disappear when they reached the center of the woods, leaving the traveler lost in the darkness. They have been described as being controlled by Robin Goodfellow, who was a mischievous woodland spirit. Not far from London is Windsor Park. The area is associated with an ancient spirit called Herne the Hunter. On cold nights he appears at the base of Herne's Oak. the tree on which he was executed by hanging. He can be seen riding through the shadowy woodland with his horse and owl. Local people told their children to avoid him, as anyone who gets close enough to see the horns on his head will surely be killed. Hearn is said to be the vengeful spirit of Richard Horne, who was hanged for poaching in the early 16th century. There was once a young girl who agreed to meet with her lover in the woods. After a few minutes of walking through the woods, she meets an old woman with her face covered by cloth. The old woman warned her against going into the woods alone, but she didn't listen. She soon arrives at the well they agreed to meet at. She waited there for hours before realizing he wasn't coming. By that time, it was too dark for her to find her way back. She was lost, but soon found an old stone building covered in ivy. At the entrance, she sees the old woman from earlier, but her face is no longer hidden. Her appearance is so terrifying that the girl finds herself frozen in fear. She was even unable to scream as the old woman walks towards her. In medieval times, it was believed that a mysterious species of human lived deep in the woods. They were covered in hair and possessed great strength. They carry around big wooden clubs and are said to have uncontrollable anger, from which their name comes. They are known as wild man of the woods. Parents would warn their children never to enter the woods alone for fear of the wild man. Most people don't believe in their existence today, but they are still used as a symbol of nobility. In 1966, a clergyman entered the National Maritime Museum in London. While there, he took a photograph of the tulip staircase inside. Nothing seemed unusual at first, but when the photograph was fully developed, he saw a ghostly figure holding onto the stair rail. The photo was examined by experts, who concluded it had not been manipulated in any way. Many see the photo as confirming a local legend. The National Maritime Museum is said to be haunted by the ghost of someone dissected there. Before becoming a museum, the building was used by a medical school. The village of Lambton is home to this next tale. The son of a lord once avoided church to go fishing. He captured an eel and threw it down a well. Over the next few years, the eel grew big enough to escape. The man eventually returned to the village after 7 years of military service. By this time, the giant worm was strong enough to terrorize the entire community. He takes on the task of killing it, but has no idea how. A local witch told him to stick arrowheads to his armor to stop the worm from crushing him. So when the worm did try to crush him, it was cut into pieces by the arrowheads. The pieces fell into the river below and the worm was dead.